And Clay Travis was talking about Elon Musk, and he said, we're talking about the greatest mind, perhaps in all of human history.
I'm not going to turn away from the most brilliant mind in maybe world history when you look at the companies that he's founded. And
When is the glazing going to end? All right, everyone. So today I'm going to give you guys a video response to a comment that I received recently. This one is from a guy who calls himself Odo SO8PJ. Again, these usernames that people have on YouTube, they're like something out of Star Wars. RDD2, I don't know. Anyway, Odo, Hal 3000, whatever, says, your dad was spot on about many things. I will let him know that. I appreciate that. But you, speaking about me, you don't seem to have a clue. A clue about what, Mr. Odo So 8PJ? This username, oh my gosh. They all do this. So he is talking about my video that I did a few weeks ago about Elon Musk's very, very bizarre gesture. I'm talking about, you guys know what I'm talking about, the whole, and don't forget the grunt at the end of the gesture. Don't forget the So I did a video about that very, as Piers Morgan called it, ill-advised gesture by Elon Musk. And I said, guys, we all know what Musk was doing. It's very, very obvious. Your eyes can see. God gave you 2 eyeballs so that you can see what's in front of you. And my whole point was to tell people, don't think that when someone is pissing on your leg, that it's raining. And if they tell you that it's raining as they're pissing on your leg, don't believe them. That's called gaslighting. That's called deception, subterfuge, or as it has always been known, lying. It's called lying. So Mr. Odo's point is that I don't have a clue about what I'm talking about. Okay. I wish that when people make these sorts of comments that they would be specific. What do you specifically mean when you say I don't have a clue? A clue about what? Be specific. Tell me where I'm wrong. I wish people would do this. But you see, this is an example, a perfect example of someone being bad faith. And I've seen this many times, and it is very, very rare that I see someone say, hey, Ted, I disagree with you on something that you said in this particular video, and it's when you said this. Here's where you are wrong. Here's where I think you are wrong. Now, if someone can do that, I would appreciate it. And I have seen people do this, albeit it is very, very rare. So when someone says you don't know what you're talking about, it's always very appropriate to ask them, well, be specific. What am I wrong about? What did I say that was wrong? Or what did I say that indicates that I don't have a clue about what I'm talking about? So Mr. Odo doesn't like the fact that I said that Elon Musk's very bizarre gesture was a blatant Nazi salute. But I also said other things, or I made other observations in that video. For example, I talked about the very deceptive argument that Musk fans utilize when talking about this whole story. They will say, it's a Roman salute. And there are people who make this argument, and they are actually taking themselves seriously. It's a Roman salute. In fact, I saw a video on this whole thing, and the video presented an article written by some publication. I think it was a Turkish publication, and the article says, oh yes, it's a Roman salute, and this is a salute that was made in the ancient Roman Empire, and there's no evidence. The New York Times did an article about this. Metatron did a video about this. There's no evidence. In fact, what spurred me to do the video that Mr. Odo doesn't like was an article. Well, it was a video done by Metatron, how the whole thing about the Roman salute is absent of any evidence, because this thing that we call the Roman salute was not used in the ancient Roman Empire. And the other thing that got me to do that particular video that Mr. Odo doesn't like is an article that was published by the New York Times, also saying the same thing that Metatron said, pointing out the same thing. There is no evidence that this was done in ancient Rome. And I said in my video that when someone utilizes this argument, perhaps they are clueless. Perhaps they heard this from somewhere and they believed it. Okay, fine. We can give those people the benefit of the doubt. Ask them for evidence. Ask them, where did you hear about that? Ask them, how do you know that? And see if they have any evidence. I bet you they won't, because there is no evidence. None. We have a statue of Caesar Augustus putting his hand like this. Let me see if the camera can get the right joint bent here. Like this. Does this look like a Roman salute to you? Or sorry, a fascist salute? Does that look like this? Does this look like what Musk did? Does this look like this? Does this look like that? It doesn't. Because that arm that was attached to that statue was added later. It wasn't a part of the original design. Moreover, that arm was built to hold a spear, not a Roman salute. There's no evidence. So this is the observation. I don't want to delve too much into that, because I already dealt with this in the last video that I did about this whole Elon Musk fiasco. But I just wanted to point that out, because that's what I said in the video that Mr. Odo doesn't like. So are you saying that I don't have a clue about that? Are you saying that the New York Times doesn't have a clue when they said that there is no evidence that this gesture, this bizarre gesture, wasn't used in the ancient Roman Empire? What exactly in that video did I say that indicates that I don't have a clue? Now, I'm going to guess it's that I called it a fascist salute, and I said that Elon Musk was doing a fascist salute, and you are saying that I am wrong. I think that's pretty fair, right? I think that's a fair assessment as to what you mean here. Because you said in your comment that they all do this. Well, who is they? I'm guessing you're saying it's all the politicians, right? Okay. So all the politicians do what? What do you mean by this? Or better yet, what do you mean by they all do this? Are you saying that Kamala Harris did this? Oh, I see. So you are utilizing, perhaps you didn't even watch the whole thing. Perhaps you didn't watch my video in its completion, because in my video I addressed this very argument, and I made the observation that your argument, the one that you are utilizing right now, is bad faith. Because, and everyone on Twitter, or sorry, X, that loves Musk uses this argument. You guys say, well, look, here's a photograph of Kamala Harris doing this. And let me see if the camera gets the whole thing. All right, there's a picture of Kamala Harris doing this, or she's more like this. All right, like, hey. And I actually addressed this argument, and I said that it's bad faith. Now, why did I say that this argument is bad faith? Because the problem with these observations is that they do not reference the videos in which these politicians are making these movements with their arms. Because, yes, you can see a photo of Kamala doing this, and she's more like this, but when you actually see the video, she's simply talking. She's talking. And as she's talking, she's like, that's not the same thing. And how come the people who always utilize this argument never actually point to the video of Kamala Harris? They always point to a photo. Oh, because you're taking one little snapshot And then you're making the snapshot into the argument. But the people who make the observation that Elon Musk did make a fascist salute actually point to the video and not just to the photo. Do you see the difference? So I addressed your argument. And the fact that you don't actually point to this fact tells me either two things. Either you didn't watch the video, or you did watch the video and you are completely bad faith. And in both cases, actually, you are bad faith, because when you make a criticism of a video without watching the whole video, you are being bad faith, because you are not being fair to the person that you are criticizing. And then you say that I lost all of my father's credibility. You say, lost all of your dad's credibility. How so? How so, Mr. Odo? How so? And if you would like to debate me on this, let me know. I'll set it up. I'll set up the debate. We can do it. We can do a video debate, a video conversation, and we'll debate this. How did I lose my dad's credibility, or how did I lose credibility for my dad? How so? Explain this to me. Explain this one to me. Because my father, you see, as you probably already know, my father left Islam. My father was a member of the PLO. He was a terrorist. He did a terrorist attack against Israel. He hated the Jews. He loved Hitler, believe it or not, because he was told that Hitler was a great man because Hitler killed the Jews. And in fact, my dad will tell you that when he was growing up, one thing that he would hear while growing up was that the only problem with Adolf Hitler is that he did not finish the job. And this mentality is indicative in the fact that one of Hitler's allies was an Arab who was against Israel. And he was an Arab who was the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Hajj Amin al-Husseini. He was an ally of the Nazis. He, in fact, worked with the Albanian and Bosnian Nazi divisions, and they were part of the Waffen-SS. And the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem was a Nazi, or at least you could say he was an ally of the Nazis. He was a Nazi. It's just, he's a Nazi, okay? He's hanging out with all these SS guys, helping them out, influencing them, working directly with Adolf Hitler. He's a Muslim Nazi. So my father told me this at a very young age. He told me about these things at a very young age. So pretty much my entire life, I have been taught about the evils of Nazism. And this I can attribute to my father, right? I can attribute this to my upbringing, because my father always told me, Nazism is evil, it's bad, never follow it, it's diabolical. And that's how I was raised. In fact, I remember my dad had a coffee cart. My dad used to run coffee carts. And he had this coffee cart in the Oakland courthouse. He had several coffee carts in the Bay Area, but I remember he had this coffee cart at the Oakland courthouse. And I believe he had another, if I remember correctly, he had another coffee cart in the Alameda County Courthouse. I'll have to ask them about that one. But anyway, I remember we were in this courthouse because my dad was managing this coffee cart. And there were these photos on the wall of the civil rights movement. And you could see on the photos, you can see these old photos from the civil rights movement, and they're marching for the rights of African Americans, and they talk about Martin Luther King Jr. and they got into a little bit of the history of this by posting these photos. And there was part of the presentation on the wall was a photo of a bunch of racists holding up signs about how they don't want to see black people. They don't like black folks. And then there was another photo showing African Americans and whites marching together for the rights of African Americans. And my father told me, he said, you see, he said, the ones, he pointed to the racist, and he said, these are the bad ones. These are the bad people. And then he pointed to the photograph of the whites and the blacks marching together. And he said, these are the good ones. So my whole life, I have been raised to go against this stuff. So I don't know how I've done anything wrong to my dad's credibility. I am simply continuing what my dad taught me. And what my dad taught me was that you should always go against evil. My dad did not teach me to follow this movement because that's that movement, and we've always followed that movement. My dad never told me we have to follow this church because that's the church that you were raised in. And, you know, from the early 90s, I was going to the Baptist church. My dad converted to Christianity in 1993, so we were going to the Baptist church. I got baptized in a non-denominational evangelical church. But my dad never said, we have to follow this church. You can't follow this other church. You have to follow this church because that's what we grew up with. Or that's what you grew up with. Or that's what we taught you. My dad always said, if you see evil, go against it. If you see truth, acknowledge it. So that's why you will see me criticizing the Democrat Party, but you will also see me criticizing the Republican Party, because it's not about a party, it's not about an institution, it's about right and wrong. Right versus wrong. Plain and simple. So that's why I eventually left Protestantism and I became a Catholic, because for me it was pursuing the truth. You know, I looked at church history. Okay, I see bishops and monks and saints, and I thought, okay, this is very Catholic. This is not Protestant. This is not non-denominational. It's about truth versus lies. It's about evil versus good, or good versus evil. And when you see evil, you have to expose it. And when you see good, you should acknowledge it. And when you see truth, you should acknowledge it. And so when you see someone who is supporting and promoting an ultra-nationalist German party that has a leader who expresses his spite towards Holocaust memorials, and who used to write for Nazi publications, and who wrote articles praising the Third Reich, and when you have a party that has another leader who refused to celebrate the defeat of the Nazis, and Elon Musk is supporting this party. I'm talking about Bjorn Holke. When I said a leader, the first time I meant Bjorn Holke. Bjorn Holke has expressed his spite against Holocaust memorials. He has written articles praising the Third Reich. He used a slogan that was from the SA, saying, everything for Deutschland, everything for Deutschland. He was told that was a Nazi slogan. He didn't care. He said it again. And he is one of the leaders of the AfD, an ultra-nationalist party in Germany that's being promoted by Elon Musk. And one of the other leaders of the AfD is Alice Weidel. Weidel. Someone tried to correct me on how to pronounce her last name. It's Weidel, I believe. Alice Weidel refuses to celebrate the defeat of the Nazis. She was invited to celebrate the defeat of the Nazis by the Russian embassy, and she refused to attend the celebration. She's a Nazi. These are Nazis. And when you have Elon Musk, when you see Elon Musk promoting this party, when you see Elon Musk saying that everyone should get a Neuralink implanted in their brains because it's going to advance them in the whole process of human evolution. It's going to be the next step of human evolution. And he's trying to bioengineer a new human being. And he says that the people who are not going to have the Neuralinks are not going to be as efficient. And when he says that the Neuralink is going to be the next step of human evolution, what he is implying is that the people who are not going to have the chips are not going to be as evolved. And what did the Nazis teach? They taught evolutionism. They believed in evolutionism. They were fanatics about evolutionism, and they wanted to engineer a new human being. And they believed that the people who were not like them were not as evolved. It's very paralleled with transhumanism. And so when you see Elon Musk promoting transhumanism, pushing transhumanism, and then on top of that, promoting an ultra-nationalist German party that has Nazis in its ranks, in its highest ranks. And then on top of that, you see him doing this. I think it is very, very appropriate to make an observation that says that there is something wrong with this whole picture and that we shouldn't be gung-ho about this guy. But you see, you have these comments, like what Mr. Odo has said, that say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. But they don't even actually try to refute anything that you say. They don't get specific as to what you said was wrong. Nothing. Because they're bad faith. And when you see Elon Musk doing all these things, promoting an ultranationalist party in Germany, doing the whole Neuralink craziness, promoting transhumanism, all this crazy stuff, and then doing the weird salute, we can at least say that something is very wrong with this whole thing. Now, if Elon Musk does something that's good, I won't have a problem acknowledging that because I'm all about truth versus falsehood. I'm all about good versus evil. But really, enough with the glazing. This is the problem. There's so much glazing that goes on in society in general. There's just so much of it. And recently, I went to the grocery store, and I was listening to the radio in the car, and it was some right-wing talk show host, and he's just praising Elon Musk. Musk is so great. Oh, he's so wonderful. Democrats are so triggered, blah, blah, blah. You know, the typical right-wing claptrap. And I just thought, when is this glazing going to end? So I went to the grocery store, came back from the grocery store, went back into the car, listened to the radio, and it's two other right-wing hosts. I'm pretty certain they were two different guys from the one I was listening to before. And they were talking about Elon Musk, praising him. And I literally told myself, when is the glazing going to end? Am I in Krispy Kreme or am I listening to the radio? When is the glazing going to end? There's just too much glazing going on. Just glazing Elon Musk. And I was listening to Piers Morgan recently, and I saw it again. More glazing. And I saw some guy, his name is Clay Travis. And Clay Travis was talking about Elon Musk. And he said, well, we're talking about the greatest mind, perhaps, in all of human history. Word?
I'm not going to turn away from the most brilliant mind in maybe world history when you look at the companies that he's founded and the value that he's unlocked. I'm amazed that he has the time and that he has the willingness. And what is he trying to do, Piers? He's trying to balance the budget, something that every family in America has.
Really? In all of human history? Really? This guy could have picked a billion other people. So perhaps the most brilliant mind in history, more brilliant than who? Moses? Jesus? Abraham? Noah? People thousands of years ago up in the United Kingdom built frickin' Stonehenge. They were able to align the stones together to the point where they are perfectly aligned with the sun so that when the freaking summer equinox happens, the beams of the sun perfectly align with the stone and go through the gap in between the stones, and all these crazy hipster pagans wait for it every year because it's so damn precise. And when the winter equinox happens, bam, there's a beam of sun that goes through. They were able to align the damn stones with the sun. And that's before computers. That's before satellites. You had Mayans who built pyramids that perfectly aligned with the freaking stars. And they had no computers, no satellites, no nothing, just their brains. The Egyptians built pyramids that aligned with the stars, and that was without computers, nor satellites, nor any of that stuff. So, and they had no computers, they just had their brains. Just their brains. That's brilliant. But the most brilliant mind, perhaps in all of human history, is Elon Musk. I mean, guys, really, the glazing has to stop. It's insane. The sycophants, the sycophancy, it's just insane, guys. It's absolutely insane. And for those of you who say, Ted, you didn't see what your eyes actually saw when Elon Musk did the ill-advised gesture. You know, Piers Morgan, he's an intelligent guy. And he has balanced views about certain things, right? When it comes to the Israel-Palestine issue, I think for the most part he has a balanced position. When it comes to a number of different topics, he has a balanced view. And I guess I don't know, I don't want to make accusations, but he said that the Elon Musk gesture was just whatever. You know, it was just a moment of excitement, whatever. Okay. He's an intelligent guy. Cenk Uygur asked him a very simple question. Mr. Morgan, would you do that gesture? Would you make the very same gesture that Musk did? And he said, no, I wouldn't. Why not? Why wouldn't you do the gesture? Why? Because you know damn well that it wasn't normal. You know damn well that it was problematic. No one does this unless they're sick. And Nazis are sick people. Fascists are sick people. You could say, well, perhaps he was trolling. Perhaps he was trolling. But let's say that you're right and that he was trolling. It's still a fascist salute. And let's say that I'll say, yeah, you're right. He was trolling. If someone is quoting Mein Kampf and he's just trolling, he's still quoting Mein Kampf. And when he's quoting Mein Kampf and billions of people can read what he presents, let's say someone presents words from Mein Kampf or words from a Hitler speech or whatever, and that person is extremely famous and they have a huge audience, billions or if not hundreds of millions of people are following this person, and that person puts a quote from Mein Kampf and billions of people see it. And you could say, well, he's just trolling. But the fact is what just happened there? The fact is that billions of people, or if not hundreds of millions of people, or tens of millions of people saw the quote from Mein Kampf. And regardless if he's trolling or not, a bunch of people just read that quote. And now they have this idea, wow, look, this person has quoted Mein Kampf. And the people who are Nazis, they're going to think this is great. And the people who are perhaps thinking, perhaps they're waffling between being a normal person and being a fanatic. Maybe they're in the process of radicalization. They see that and they think, damn it, I am inspired to read more Mein Kampf, and perhaps they become radicalized. When you do something that is outside of the Overton window, when you do something that is extreme, or when you do something that is ideologically dangerous, and you have a lot of popularity, you have just helped to normalize that radical position or that dangerous ideology. So when Musk did this, there were a number of other people who said, well, I'm going to do the same thing. What's happening? What's happening is normalization. That's what's happening. It's like when Sodom used to be taboo, used to be big time taboo. And then what happened? Hollywood began to do these shows, Will and Grace, and they began to slowly percolate Sodom into society. And at first, people were saying, oh, this is terrible. It's against family values, blah, blah, blah. Now you see very little resistance to the L, G, and the B in Sodom. You have a lot of resistance against the T, but not so much against the L, the G, and the B, because it became normalized. And it became normalized by just percolating, by just spreading little hints. Oh, presenting Sodom as funny and as witty and as humorous, and oh, it's all just for jokes, and oh, why are you taking it so seriously? Are you some kind of a drama queen? Are you getting bent out of shape over nothing? And you see the same thing happening with Nazism. It's slowly, gradually becoming something more and more acceptable, to the point where you have a guy in Germany who used to write Nazi articles for Nazi publications, and now he's one of the biggest politicians in Germany. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. But I just want to, I'm just going to end this video with a quote on Odo's YouTube account. Odo is the guy who wrote the comment to which I am making this video as a response. And I like the quote that you have here on your YouTube channel. You say here, "The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it hates those who speak it." And that is true. And when I'm speaking about something that I see, and when I'm actually mentioning facts, that's what I'm doing. I'm seeing something that's true, and I'm recognizing it, and I'm pointing it out. And you're hating me for it. So you're doing exactly the opposite of what the quote that you have here says. Anyway, guys, you heard some theology. God bless.